Shemai Palb, howdy everyone, and today I'm testing out a very popular telephoto zoom lens for Sony's mirrorless E-mount cameras, the Sony 55-210mm f4.5 to 6.3 OSS. It's designed to cover an APS-C camera sensor in Sony's mirrorless cameras. While it will work on a full-frame E-mount camera, you'll have to shoot in crop sensor mode. Now, just about every camera system has a small, budget telephoto zoom lens option. They're often sold in a kit with a new camera, with the nice effect that there are always plenty left over to be found cheaply on eBay. This Sony lens's official standalone price is about £200 or $350 in the US. But you can find them on eBay for as little as £120 in the UK or $150. Might as well get it on eBay, in my opinion. The lens is designed to work in tandem with a standard zoom lens, either the old Sony 18-55 or the newer 16-50mm lens. Where those lenses' zoom range ends at 50mm or so, this telephoto lens begins and zooms all the way in to 210mm, the full-frame equivalent of 315mm. Pretty handy, although admittedly some zoom lenses can take you even further than this. In order to keep the size, weight and price of this lens down, it has a dark maximum aperture of only f4.5 in the wide end to a pretty dark f6.3 at the telephoto end, so it won't be very useful for shooting in dark situations or getting fast shutter speeds or out of focus backgrounds, and that's simply the price you pay for getting a smaller, inexpensive lens. However, some good news is that the lens has built-in image stabilization. Here's some footage with it turned off, and here it's turned on, which you do in the camera's menu. As you can see, the stabilization is actually very good, helping you to get quite steady video footage and sharper still images. Also, it works silently. Let's look at the lens itself now. It comes in silver or in black. I don't know why I got the silver version. I think it looks pretty ugly, unless you're using a silver camera, I suppose. However, for a budget lens, its build quality is pretty impressive. Its lens mount and body are made of metal, and it feels quite solid, while not weighing too much. The rubberized zoom ring turns really nice and smoothly without really sticking, useful for video work. The focus ring at the front is made of plastic though. It also turns smoothly, but it's an electronic focus-by-wire system. When shooting in manual focus mode, it's not the most responsive, but it works. The autofocus motor on the camera works silently, but a little slowly, and it's not always sure of itself. If you're shooting something that doesn't move much, then it works fine, but in my experience, it had enormous trouble with subject tracking and continual autofocus. I tried to shoot birds in flight, and the lens's autofocus was useless, missing almost every time, which was really frustrating. The lens has a small 49mm filter thread for nice, small, inexpensive filters, and my copy came with a decent enough little lens hood. Overall, the fit and finish of this lens is great, but in my experience, you should think twice about getting it to shoot sports, moving subjects, or anything else that would test the autofocus motor. Well, let's see about its image quality on a 24MP APS-C camera, my little Sony a5100. These pictures are taken with in-camera corrections turned on. At 55mm and f4.5, the middle of the image is impressively sharp with good contrast. The image corners are a bit soft. It looks like there's some astigmatism going on there too. Stop down a little to f5.6 for an improvement in the corners, and f8 or f11 for quite sharp corner image quality. Let's zoom in now halfway to 120mm. The maximum aperture has now darkened to f5.6. The middle of the image is a little softer now, but still quite good. Corner image quality is also slightly soft. At f8, there's an improvement in those corners, and back in the middle, the image becomes fantastically sharp. f11 also looks great in the middle of the image, and over in the corners we see a further improvement. And finally, 210mm. At the new maximum aperture of f6.3, the middle of the image is actually quite nice and sharp, although contrast is a bit weaker, and there's just a touch of colour fringing on contrasting edges. Still, for a budget lens on a 24 megapixel camera, this is very good. The corners are softer, but still quite good. Stop down to f8 or f11 and the image quality remains about the same. So, for a low budget telephoto zoom lens, the image quality you're getting is reasonably good. Nothing spectacular, but it is easily capable of decently sharp results throughout its entire zoom range, and that's all you can ask for in a budget lens, really. Alright, how about distortion and vignetting? Throughout the lens's zoom range, you will always see very slight pincushion distortion, nothing really noticeable. At 55mm, the wide angle end, there's a little darkness right in the edges at f4.5, but that goes away if you stop the aperture down to about f8. That vignetting gets a little worse as you start to zoom in. Here it is at 120mm and now 210. At f6.3, the aperture wide open, the corners are a little dark really. Stop down the aperture to f8 or f11 for more brightness in those corners, or as usual, just turn on your in-camera corrections. The lens can focus as closely as 1 meter, making it pretty handy for shooting small subjects. At f6.3, the close-up image quality is fairly sharp, but there's still that low contrast and slight colour fringing. Stop down to f8 for a nice improvement. How does this lens work against bright light? Not very well really, unsurprisingly for a telephoto lens. It picks up quite a lot of flaring, as you can see here. Finally, bokeh. The lens's narrow maximum aperture means that you won't exactly get eye-poppingly out of focus backgrounds, but zoom in to 210mm and you can get a little background separation. The quality of those out of focus backgrounds is fairly soft, but nothing really special. Overall, this really is just an averagely good, low-budget telephoto zoom lens. Well, maybe a bit sharper than usual. Actually, you can get impressively sharp results with this lens in most situations. It's quite recommendable, really. As I said before, it'll struggle with shooting moving subjects, and its narrow maximum aperture won't exactly rock your photographic world, but its build quality, image stabilization, and optics are all pretty nice, so I would say it comes recommended.